how might you respond, and this is interesting because you hear them do it, to the people who say Jesus didn't use wine, he used unfermented grape juice?
Bible says wine.
Bible says wine. But you know, there are teachers out there who try and show you that there's a difference. And you know what? In the Hebrew, there is a difference between wine and either fresh grape juice or new wine. It's two different words. And if all you ever hear is that, you can begin to think that, oh, they're talking about grape juice. Here's the problem. Let's look at some of these. For example, turn to Genesis chapter 27, verse 28. It's a few books before Revelation. A few books before Revelation. Like all the way as many as you can get. I apologize. Your pastor has a bad sense of humor.
Say that.
Genesis 27, verse 28. And to kind of give us context here, we're talking Isaac and Jacob. When Jacob comes in to steal his birthright. Could someone read verses 26 to 28 of Genesis chapter 27?
Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him. And Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him and said, "See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let the people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you."
Now, did you catch that wine is one of the blessings that Isaac was giving to his son? Wine is one of the things that he said he would be blessed with.
And he says plenty.
And plenty. Yeah. Now here's what's interesting. That time they use the word wine. It is the word for freshly crushed grapes. It is the word for freshly crushed grapes there. So it has more to do with the fields and the grapes on the vines than it does with fermented wine. In that version. Now, remember, this was Isaac's blessing of Jacob. Jacob would become known by what name? Do you remember the other name God gives to Jacob? Israel. Well, it's amazing how history repeats itself. If you go to Genesis 49, verse 11, and could someone read Genesis chapter 49, verses 8 through 12?
Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's son shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion and as a lioness who dares rouse him. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples, binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He has washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk.
Yeah. And there we have Jacob's blessing to his son Judah. Now, a few things for context. Jacob will have so many grapevines that he won't be able to tie his horse at the hitching post to a tree because he has so many grapevines. He might as well just tie it off to the grapevines. More abundant than water, more exceedingly great and more exceedingly flowing will be wine, so that this cheap thing that you wash your clothes in, you'll be able to wash your clothes in wine, because it'll be cheaper to wash your clothes in wine than water. That's what the text means. He has washed his garments in wine. Now that wine is the Hebrew word for fermented juice of the vine. This is actual wine as we think of wine. Now, again, we have Jacob who is blessed by saying you'll have a whole bunch of grapes and you'll be able to take their juice and do whatever you want with it. Either fresh grape juice because it will be plenty, or you'll be able to store it as wine. And then here we have the same guy blessing his son, Judah, telling him that you'll be able to bathe your clothes in fermented wine. Now the reason for that is because you're going to wash your clothes even when it's not grape season. This is the stuff that keeps. Wine keeps, grape juice does not. But still note that the same promise, very similar promise, between wine and grape juice. Very similar promise. Used the same ways. And then, let's look also at Genesis 14, verse 18. So we've seen that there are two different ways and two different words for wine and for unfermented grape juice. Now, Genesis 14, verse 18, and we're going to skip verse 17 because that front word is Chedorlaomer. His name, he is one of the kings. But we will start verse 18. Could someone read verse 18 and 19 of Genesis chapter 14?
And Melchizedek, king of Solomon, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. You want 20?
Oh, sure.
And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand.
What did Melchizedek bring out to Abraham?
Bread and wine.
Bread and wine. And that word is fully fermented wine.
Probably some of the real good stuff.
Probably some real good stuff. He was a priest. Melchizedek was king of Salem, so he had a pretty good stockpile. And he brought out for Abraham bread and wine. And you know what Abraham did with that bread and wine? He ate it and he drank it. Do you know the guy who is held up as the patriarch of the Jewish church? Abraham. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And what did Abraham, the patriarch of the Jewish church, do? Drink wine. And good wine, too. And then, okay, just for a little bit of a tour through here, Exodus 29, verse 40. Exodus and Leviticus are the book of God's covenant with his people. Exodus chapter 29, looking at verse 40 in Exodus chapter 29. Exodus chapter 29, verse 40. Exodus 29, verse 40.
With the first lamb offer of him ephah of fine flour mixed with a quarter of hin of oil from pressed olives and a quarter of hin of wine as a drink offering.